Okay, here's a quick little video on your new Ninja 250. Just going to go through a quick rundown of some of the settings and then show a quick flight on it. You can see where I installed the 1177 Fox Near camera. Can't really see the video transmitter because it's tucked up in there nice, but it's connected to the Fat Shark antenna. Alright, to start her up, first you want to go ahead and get your power on transmitter, then plug her in. And you'll hear it go through those little song and dance on there. Put it on a flat level surface, let it go through all the beeps, and you'll be good. I also want to mention that it's a good idea to have this battery cable running on this side of the antenna, just to keep it from possibly hitting the blades. You want to always make sure that everything is clear of the blades as they're spinning. So it's a good idea to look at this type of stuff and keep that stuff in mind. Always make sure you have the battery strapped down nice and tight. That just clips down. Okay, a few things I want to mention about the radio before we start. You have a built-in timer on here, and you can see where it says T1, and it starts whenever you start to give it throttle. So you'll see when I move the throttle up, it'll start going. So while you're flying, it'll keep tabs on how long you've been flying as long as the throttle's up. Now you can go in here and change this. Let's see. Oop. Have to unlock it first. You can see where there's timer, and I have it set on 5 minutes right now. And 5 minutes is going to be a good amount of time for you to fly, and you don't want to drain the battery all the way. You want to leave it about 20% of the amperage left. You don't want to drain the LiPo batteries all the way down. That's not good for the batteries. Alright, so that's your timer. And then these switches up here, these two on the right. Let's see if I can get them in there. Alright, these two switches switch between your 6 different modes of flight. You're going to want to have these both up whenever you first get it and you first start wanting to fly. This one up is in stabilize mode, and then down is in acro mode, which is like a rate mod, which means there's no stabilization, and if you go all the way forward, right, left, back, the quadcopter won't stabilize. It'll just continue going all the way until it rolls all the way over, and you don't want to do that if you're still learning and beginning. So you want to always have this in stabilize mode. And then there's a beginner, a sport, and a freestyle. You want to have that in beginner until you get really used to flying it, and then you can move up to sport mode. And going from beginner to sport, basically in beginner it'll stop at a certain point as you fly forward or to the side, and then when you put it in sport mode, it'll just tilt it a little bit more to where you can get a little bit more speed and a little bit more, it'll respond a little bit faster. And then there is this freestyle mode, which is all the way down, and when you're in stabilized and in freestyle mode, it'll stabilize the quadcopter for you when the sticks are neutral, but it'll be a lot more responsive when you start moving the sticks. But if you move the sticks all the way to their endpoints, all the way, let's say left, like that, it'll actually do a roll, a full roll. So if you go real quickly like that, it'll actually just roll and then stabilize itself level again, as long as you bring it back to neutral. Now if you just hold it like this, it'll sit there and just continue rolling. Now it'll start losing altitude, so you don't want to, if you do that, you want to be really high up. But anyways, I would recommend playing with that once you get used to it later on. But as once you start out and you're just beginning, I would say leave these both up like that, in beginner and stabilized. Alright, as you see, the rain stopped. It's been raining for the past 2 or 3 days here, but it stopped just enough to where I'm going to just get a little quick flight and stabilize beginner mode, just to show you that how it hovers and that it flies good. Alright, and as you can see, it's not doing anything when I give it throttle, so you have to unlock the throttle. And to unlock the throttle, on the throttle over here, you go lower left, and you can see it starts spinning. Now if I don't do anything, see, it'll stop. But if you hold it over here, see, as long as it's all the way down, it'll stop on its own after a few seconds, after about 3 or 4 seconds. But what I'll do is I'll unlock it and then I'll start flying. That's beginner mode. Now this is sport mode right here. It'll be a little bit quicker. Alright. Alright. Now another tip I can give is when you first start flying, I would recommend you to fly it in a large grassy area, so that way if it does hit the ground, it's going to be nice soft cushion. Also, I'd recommend flying it with the nose pointed away from you. That's a big tip right there for beginners. That way you always kind of understand which direction, right and left doesn't get backwards on you, because when it's facing towards you, right and left will be backwards, and it'll be harder to, it'll be easier to get disoriented. So just when you first start, I would recommend keeping it about, anywhere from 2 to 6, 7 feet off the ground, out in front of you with the nose pointed away from you, and just get used to flying it first that way. I'll give you an example of that. So you have it pointed away from you, so it just makes it a little easier just to kind of understand the throttle and kind of get a feel for the throttle and get a feel for the sticks, and moving it right, left, back, forward. So that's what I would recommend for sure. I definitely wouldn't recommend flying it in a really tight space. Now I'm flying it kind of in the front of my garage, but I'm experienced with it, so I'm used to it. But I definitely wouldn't recommend you flying it in a tight space at all until you're really familiar with it. Alright, and lastly, just to conclude the video, I got my head place here. Just want to show that the video is getting out. You can see it right there. See if I can finagle this. There it is. Let me move the quad here. I'll move it around. You can see the video is getting out. And that concludes the quick little video on this Ninja 250. Thanks.